BroadheadsHuntingClub.com, the official site of the North American Hunting Club.
All right, here's an Uncle Ted tech tip for you. If you got a lot of wood out in the swamp, why burn gasoline? Why burn fuel oil? So I'm going to keep my Spirit Wild hunters warm and toasty with a wood fire. It's going to be a perfect night for hunting. And right here, I'll give you a little Uncle Ted's Spirit Wild history lesson. This is a Cape buffalo I shot in the Sudan, in the country of Sudan, Africa, in 1977, on about February 27th, a couple days after Sasha's birthday. I got him with a Jennings Super T at 85 pounds with a 2117 Easton orange arrow, fletched by Bob Eastman at Game Tracker, with white 4-inch feathers, and I was using a Bear razor head without the bleeder blade. In fact, I'm going to show you one right now because I got a bunch. And I shot him about 35 yards right through the heart, and he died pretty quick. Cape Buffalo, Sudan, Africa, 1977. Jennings Super T at 85 pounds. Now, let's show you from Uncle Ted's archives. This is my sporting goods emporium. I haven't cleaned it up in a long time. But let's just look in here. Watch this. Come over here. Those are all Bear razor heads. Here's a Howard Hill broadhead I got from Howard Hill. Here's one of the Bear razor heads. They made a little cover to go over it. And of course you can see the bleeder blades go in there. I got some bleeder blades here somewhere. Yeah, this one's got a bleeder blade in it. But I was taught by George Nichols to take the bleeder blade out so it's only a 2-blade for better penetration. And as soon as I started doing that, I started killing more animals. See, here's the bleeder blade right here. And here's the Bear razor head. And of course, Jack Zawicki had the Zawicki Eskimo. Here's some more bleeder blades. See, these are all original. These are brand new Bear. Isn't this neat, Paul? All these old Bear razor heads. And here is a Pollington Patriot painted a different color. Now, this is a Ben Pearson deadhead that I filed to a chisel point instead of a straight point. See, Howard Hill liked to have more length than width, but you can see that this is fragile up here because there's less metal, so that would bend. So we learned, here's a Bear razor head that I chisel pointed. We would take a file, which I'm going to do right now, and we would round off the edges. That's a Ben Pearson deadhead. And that's a Bear razor head that I chiseled off the tip. See the difference in the way the factory made them? Fred had a little bit of a tip on it, but I'll show you the way Fred taught me how to do it. If you remember, you've probably seen some footage of Fred Bear sitting on a log. And he would have of course it would be on an arrow, so I'll put it on an arrow. And it would probably be an arrow that looked like this. And there's a Zawicki on there. That's an old arrow right there. And what you do, I'll do it on the Zawicki, but we do the same way with the Bear. He'd lay it on his leg like this, and he'd hold on to it like that. And where this is a factory narrow tip, the way real pointy, you go, wow, that looks more deadly, because, boy, that'll cut easier than that, because, whoa, that's rounded. That won't penetrate as good. Better penetrator, because it's a knife going in. If this hits a bone, a hard bone, because the more pointed it is, the less metal at the end, which will tend for it to go like that. And it's not hypothesis. All the old guys will tell you that. So here's an arrow that a guy made for me, and here's what Fred would do. He would take this, and you go a few strokes on that side and a few strokes on that side. Now remember how pointed that was a minute ago? See how that's starting to get what we call a chisel point. Yeah, I do 4 or 5 per size. See how that tip's gone now? Yep. 10 trillion arrow sharpenings later, I've got it down to a pretty... Now, it's difficult with the bleeder blade. That's why Fred had his that you could insert and take out, so that you could take that bleeder blade out. And his theory was that this was so fragile. And here's a great story. I'm jumping all over the place. But my dad sold Bear Archery that Swedish blue tempered rolled spring steel. Anybody know what I'm talking about here? That's quite a name, but that's what it was. It was Swedish steel, blue tempered rolled blue spring steel, so that it was, you can get, same as you got in the old injector blades. And so now you could file this on both sides. You can hear the file taking off metal. Hear that? And then you turn them over. And you got to make sure that after you've done this a few times, that you actually finish with only one per side. Really light so that there's no burr. Now, if you took a microscope to this, you would see a real microscopic burr on here, which Fred determined caused for better penetration. And that's the theory behind a serrated knife. It's not microscopic, it's quite visible, but that's what a burr translated to.